All right, picture this. It's the second quarter. The Indiana Fever are hanging on by a thread. The bench is so thin you could count healthy players on one hand, and the energy in the arena is nervous. Not hopeful, nervous. The kind of tight, edgy silence that comes when a fan base is just waiting for something awful to happen. And then it does. Lexie goes up for a contested rebound, crowded by defenders on all sides. A stray elbow. Some say accidental. Some say reckless. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. Flies straight into her face. You hear it before you even see it. The crowd gasps. She drops. No whistle. Not a single call. Nothing. Lexie is on the floor, clutching her face. The play continues. The refs look at her, and then just look away. They don't stop the clock. They don't blow the whistle. They don't check in. They act like they didn't see it. And that's when Caitlin Clark explodes. She storms toward the officials, furious, animated, fully in it. There's no filter, no holding back. Her voice carries through the arena, and it's not performative. It's personal. This wasn't just a bad call. This wasn't just a let-him-play moment. This was her teammate, her friend, and it was a hit to the face that got ignored. Clark's yelling, pointing at Lexie still crouched on the ground, practically daring the refs to pretend they didn't see it. Her body language is crystal clear. You messed up. You're not protecting us. And I'm done being quiet about it. And just like that, the game becomes secondary. Because this moment, this wasn't about 2 points or one bad foul. This was about everything that's been boiling underneath the surface. Let's be honest. The Fever have been targeted this season. Whether it's a nonstop physicality thrown at Caitlin or the silent treatment from the officials, or the staggering number of non-calls that seem to conveniently stack up against Indiana. It's been building. And tonight, the dam broke. Let's not sugarcoat it. This league is struggling with consistency. One night, it's ticky-tack fouls and free throws for days. The next, your teammate gets elbowed in the face and nothing happens. And here's the wild part. This wasn't even surprising. We all saw it coming. Because this has been the pattern all season. Indiana's been running with half a roster, duct taping their starting five together, running Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston into ground while Caitlin sits, healing, watching. And what do they get in return? Disrespect. The kind of disrespect that says, your team doesn't matter enough for protection. The kind that lets elbows fly and bodies crash, and then gaslights you into silence with no whistle and a straight face. And Clark? She's done playing nice about it. This was never about one missed call. This was about how the system is failing its players, failing her team. Lexie wasn't just injured. She was ignored. And that silence, that's what set Caitlin off. Because if the league won't protect them, someone has to. So Caitlin Clark, the rookie, the phenom, the walking Nike logo, became something else tonight. She became the enforcer, not the bruiser kind, not the one throwing elbows back. No, she became the one demanding accountability when no one else will. And it hit differently. This wasn't performative leadership. It wasn't a cute Instagram quote or a sportsmanship soundbite. This was anger born of injustice. And it ignited something. The fans, they roared. They knew what they saw. You could see it ripple through the stands like a wave. She's standing up for them. She's standing up for all of us. Because if Caitlin Clark, the most visible player in the league right now, can't get a foul call when her teammate gets hit in the head, what hope does anyone else have? The message was clear. This is bigger than basketball. And let's be real, this isn't just about officiating. This is about survival. The Fever are falling apart. The injuries have stacked up so high it's borderline tragic. Sydney Colson, Chloe B., Lexie Sophie Cunningham gone. Every game feels like it's being played with ghosts in rotation. There's no rhythm, no cohesion, just guts and panic. They're not playing to win. They're playing to endure. And through it all, Caitlin Clark is sitting courtside, itching to return, watching her team break down physically and mentally. Her face during these games, it says it all. She's not just frustrated. She's furious. because she knows what everyone else is whispering. Her return is the only shot they have left, and that's the most heartbreaking part. Caitlin Clark is 22 years old, a rookie, and yet somehow the entire fate of a franchise, and maybe the credibility of the league itself, is sitting on her shoulders. And now with Lexie down, that weight just got heavier. This team doesn't just need her back. They need her desperately. They need her offense, her vision, her command of the floor. But most of all, they need her fire. Because the only thing keeping this team from flatlining right now is raw, unfiltered emotion. And Clark, she's got it. But the league? Let's talk about the league. Because the WNBA wants to be taken seriously. They want the prime-time slots, the big brand deals, the record-breaking viewership. And Caitlin Clark handed them all of that on a silver platter. But what have they done in return? They've let her get hit. They've let her team crumble from injury after injury without adjusting protocols or addressing player safety. They've let refs turn games into wrestling matches while coaches beg for fairness. And tonight, they let Lexie Hull get elbowed in the face without even blowing the whistle. What are we doing here? What message does that send to every young woman watching? To every player suiting up in high school gyms, hoping to make it to this level? That your safety is optional? That your injury doesn't matter if you're not the right star? It's unacceptable. And the fact that it took Caitlin Clark losing at mid-game just to force people to talk about it, that says everything. Her explosion wasn't a tantrum. It was a wake-up call. Because if the WNBA can't protect its players, especially the ones carrying its brand, then what future are we really building? Lexie Hull deserves better. Caitlin Clark deserves better. This league deserves better. So, yeah, Clark exploded, and she should have. Sometimes it takes rage to start a revolution, and after tonight, you better believe the fire's been lit. Now the only question is, what happens next? Will the league respond with real change? Will they fix the officiating? Reinvest in player health? Start holding people accountable? Or will they just hope Clark's return is enough to distract everyone from Arad? Because here's the thing, they can't hide anymore. Not with Caitlin Clark speaking up. Not with fans demanding justice. Not with Lexie Hull bleeding on the floor, while the refs look the other way. This isn't just about a playoff run. This is about respect. And the Fever? They're out of patience. So whether Clark returns tomorrow or next week or next month, one thing for sure, she's not just coming back to shoot. She's coming back to set the whole system straight. And when she does, there won't be a whistle loud enough to drown her out. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Was this the breaking point? Did Caitlin do the right thing? And how should the league fix this mess? Because one way or another, the reckoning is coming, and Clark's leading the charge. All right, let's dig in. Because if you thought the story ended with an elbow and an outburst, oh no, that was just the opening act. This is where things get real. Because after that elbow to Lexie Hull's face, after Caitlin Clark's explosion at the officials, after the crowd roared and the cameras scrambled and X, imploded into a frenzy eclipse hot takes, and she's so real for that memes, we weren't just watching a bad call, we were watching a reckoning. You see, moments like these, when a star breaks through the fourth wall and dares to demand fairness, they don't just go viral, they mark a shift. This wasn't Caitlin Clark being dramatic. This wasn't her losing her cool. This was her drawing a line in the hardwood. No more silence. No more being polite. No more pretending like everything's okay. Because guess what? Everything is not okay. Let's talk about what it really means when a player like Lexie Hull, who's been busting her tail for Indiana all season, is thrown to the floor with an elbow to the face and no one cares. No stoppage. No flagrant review. Just play on. You know what that says? It says, you're not important enough. And Clark heard that loud and clear. She wasn't just reacting to one missed call. She was reacting to the constant, exhausting disregard that her team has faced all season. It's not just Lexie. It's not just Clark. It's the entire Fever roster that's been treated like background noise while the league shuffles them in and out of highlight packages and primetime slots when it's convenient. You can't call them a media darling one week and then let them get manhandled like a rec league team the next. That elbow? That was the league showing its hand. And Clark? She snapped it shut. Because say what you want about her attitude, her swagger, her so-called entitlement, Caitlin Clark stood up because no one else would. And in doing so, she told the entire league, "You will not erase us." Now, let's not ignore the context here. Indiana is falling apart. They've lost more players than some teams rotate in a whole month. The injuries are stacking like unpaid bills. And we're not talking bruises. We're talking sideline starters, season enders, players literally limping off the court as trainers exchange "what now?" glances. The team isn't just banged up. They're shattered. And you know what happens when a team is this thin? The stars get pushed harder. The bench gets stretched. And the game? It turns into survival. You got Kelsey Mitchell playing marathon minutes. Aaliyah Boston try to hold down the paint without a proper rotation. And Lexie Ho, who, by the way, has been scrapping on defense like her job depends on it, being asked to do more than ever. And all the while, the refs are treating them like they're lucky to be there. No protection, no fairness, no consistency, just pain and hustle and disrespect. So when Clark saw Lexie drop, when she saw another teammate hit the deck without so much as a second glance from the officials, you could feel something break. Because that wasn't just a foul. That was a final straw. Let's be real here. Clark has been holding it in all season. The shoves, the cheap shots, the refs swallowing their whistles while she's doubled and hacked 30 feet from the basket. The quiet frustration when she walks back to the bench shaking her head, knowing full well that if the roles were reversed, if she were on a different team in a different jersey, those calls would be automatic. But she stayed composed. She kept it in check. She played the game. Until they came for Lexie. That was the last time Caitlin Clark was going to let someone on her team take a hit without saying something. And in that moment, she leveled up. Because this wasn't just about being a top scorer or a face of the league or a marketing icon. This was about leadership. The kind that costs you. The kind that gets you fined, criticized, painted as emotional or too intense or a problem. The kind that every male athlete is praised for, but women get labeled difficult when they do the exact same thing. Clark wasn't offending Lexie Ho. She was offending every overlooked teammate, every less popular franchise, every player who's had to bite their tongue while the refs let chaos slide. And whether the league likes it or not, she just forced them to look in the mirror, because now the whole basketball world is talking about it. Now the clip is going viral. Now analysts are reviewing the play frame by frame on national TV. Now fans are showing up to comment sections with receipts. Now the league can't hide behind "missed calls happen" anymore. Now they have to answer for it. And here's where it gets even messier. Because Clark's return to play, that comeback everyone's waiting for, is no longer just about the Fever's playoff chances. It's about justice. It's about her walking back into that arena, not just as a player, but as a witness, a voice, a symbol of what happens when one player finally says, "Enough is enough." And let's not lie, her return is going to be a moment. The arena will be packed. The broadcast will be primed. The cameras will zoom in on every glare, every gesture, every possession. And the refs? Oh, they'll feel it. Every whistle will be second-guessed. Every no call will spark a new conversation. Every missed elbow, a full-blown scandal. Because now there's accountability. And that only happened because Clark spoke up. But it's not over. Not even close. Because the Fever still have to claw their way through the rest of the season with half a roster, battered chemistry, and a league that still hasn't owned up to its officiating failures. And Caitlin? She's not just coming back to score points. She's coming back to fight for her team's dignity. That's what people are missing. This isn't just about whether the Fever can squeeze into the playoffs. This is about setting a precedent. You don't get to elbow someone in the face and pretend it didn't happen. You don't get to overlook entire rosters just because the cameras are watching someone else. You don't get to claim growth for the league while ignoring the basics of player safety. So here's what's next. Caitlin Clark will return. She will take the floor. She will look every official in the eye. And whether the whistle blows or not, everyone will be listening. Because now, Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's a storm. And storms don't wait for permission. They roll in, tear down what's broken, and leave the air clearer than before. The league wanted a star? Well, stars shine, even when it burns. And if the WNBA is smart, they'll start listening before the whole house comes down. Because this isn't just Lexie's injury. This is a wake-up call. One delivered loud and clear by the most powerful rookie the sport has ever seen. All right, so we've reached that point. The smoke hasn't even cleared from Lexie Hull's face-first takedown, and you can already feel the fallout beginning. This wasn't just a bad game. This was a moment, a crack in the facade, a shift in energy that says loud and clear, something is wrong. And now, the league has a choice: pretend it didn't happen or finally do something about it. Spoiler alert, they're pretending. Because guess what we got in the days after Lexie Hull got elbowed in the face? After Caitlin Clark went nuclear on the officials? After fans trended hashtags, slowed down video clips, and screamed for accountability? Nothing. No fine for the defender. No retroactive flagrant. No statement. No apology. Not even a post-game quote from the officiating crew explaining what went wrong. Silence. And that silence, that's not just disappointing. It's dangerous. Because this isn't just about one hit. This is about a pattern. A disturbing, exhausting, demoralizing pattern of inconsistent officiating that leaves players vulnerable and fans confused. And Caitlin Clark? She didn't explode because of one elbow. She exploded because she's been watching this happen every single night. Sometimes to her. Sometimes to her teammates. Sometimes to her opponents. But always without accountability. The Lexie Hull play was just the clearest, most brutal version of a problem that's been bubbling under the surface all season. And now that it's boiled over, the league is hoping it'll just go away. But here's the problem. Caitlin Clark won't let it. Because she's not just a player who scores from a logo. She's not just a reason the building is full. The cameras are rolling, and the merch is flying off the shelves. She's also the player who notices everything. She notices when Lexie Hull gets hit, and nothing happens. She notices when the referees shrug and jog back like the blood on the court isn't their business. She notices when her fans, start questioning whether this league even cares about fairness. And the most dangerous thing you can give a player like Caitlin Clark? A reason to speak. Because now that she's spoken once, she's not going to stop. That moment on the court, the shouting, the furious body language, the hand pointed right at the ref's chest, that was her debut as a leader, not just as a scorer, not just as a face on a billboard, but as the kind of star who takes responsibility for what the league refuses to fix. She could have walked away, could have stayed quiet, could have nodded to the post-game presser and said something bland like, "We just have to play through it." But that's not who she is, because Caitlin Clark didn't get here by playing through it. She got here by breaking through it. And now she's ready to break something else wide open. The system. Let's pause for a second and just be honest. The WNBA wants to be the next big thing. It wants the coverage, the ratings, the sponsors, the Nike-level deals, the viral moments. And Clark gave them all of that on a silver platter. But what did they give her in return? No protection, no consistency, no explanation, just more pressure. More elbows, more silence. And now, they're paying the price. Because when someone like Caitlin Clark calls out the league has no cover. When she speaks, everyone listens. ESPN listens. Twitter listens. Brands listen. Young players listen. And if the league doesn't start responding, that voice is only going to get louder. Let's not forget, Clark's not alone out there. You think Kelsey Mitchell hasn't noticed the imbalance? You think Aaliyah Boston hasn't seen her teammates drop with no whistle? You think Lexie Hull doesn't wake up with a swollen face and wonder, why didn't they protect me? This isn't just a Clark problem. It's a league-wide problem. And it's creating something the WNBA can't afford. Distrust. Distrust in the refs. Distrust in the league office. Distrust in the idea that everyone is being treated fairly out there. And once the fans start to question that, it's over. Because if fans believe the outcome of a game is being influenced by inconsistent or biased officiating, they will walk. They'll turn the channel, stop buying tickets, cancel merch orders, because no one wants to invest in a rigged game. And that's the tightrope the WNBA is walking right now. One more Lexie Hull moment, and the illusion of control is gone. But let's talk about what's next for Indiana, for Caitlin, for the league. The Fever's season is teetering. They're still in playoff contention. Barely. But if they want to make it, they need Clark back. They need her voice, her offense, her presence. They need her to walk back onto the court, look the league in the eye, and say, "You didn't break us." And she will. You know she will. Because players like Clark don't run from the storm. They become it. And when she returns, she won't just be chasing a win. She'll be chasing justice. And that makes her dangerous in the best possible way. Because now, every game will carry weight. Every whistle will be watched. Every foul will be slowed down. Every moment will feel bigger than basketball. And that's not just good for Indiana. It's good for the league. Because pressure creates movement. Clark's explosion wasn't a breakdown. It was a breakthrough. A demand for better. And now that she's made it, the WNBA has no choice but to evolve. No more hiding behind excuses. No more missed calls happen. No more protecting refs over players. They have to grow. Now. Or risk losing the one thing they can't afford to lose. Trust. So where do we go from here? Clark's return will be a moment, no doubt. The fans will show up. The lights will shine brighter. The stakes will be higher. But more importantly, the players will know someone is fighting for us now. And that fight, that's what's going to define Caitlin Clark's legacy. Not just her shooting range, not just her records, but her refusal to stay quiet when it mattered most. So yeah, Lexie Hull got elbowed. The refs looked away. The league said nothing. But Clark, she roared. And now, everyone's awake.